Welcome back, everybody, to the Extravaganza with yours truly, Captain Lou, and pleased to bring in one of our favorite guests. You can tell it's NHL time when we can have a few minutes with Rod Pedersen from the Rod Pedersen Show. Always busy with all the goings on, especially with that and with the CFL and the stretch. Rod, thanks for taking time out to be with us tonight. How are you?
It's always good to see you, Lou.
So, like we said, the NHL season's around the corner, but let's get started with the team that is the cream of the crop at the top, the two-time defending Stanley Cup champion, Florida Panthers. The million-dollar question, how much are they going to miss Alexander Barkov out with that injury?
Well, this is my 5th season covering the team now, so I got a lot of friends/fans that I keep in touch with. And I found out from a friend of mine, Brent, he goes, well, there goes the three-peat. It was like Thursday before noon. I don't think Barkov was even off the ice yet.
Wow.
And that's what they're thinking here. And to be honest, it was a situation that took everybody so off guard. It took even me a couple days to think, wait a minute, Tkachuk's out too.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, 2/3 of your top line, it's going to severely tax the Panthers. And immediately people were writing me saying, who are they going to get? What are they going to do? And I'm like, just hang on. And Paul Maurice on Saturday said, and Bill Zito both said exactly what I was thinking. Let's wait. We got a few more preseason games here to see who steps up and what we have. And if we're not happy with what we have, we'll go out and get somebody. But you know yourself, Lou, the season hasn't even started yet. The rosters are committed. So it's going to be pretty hard to, well, you're not going to replace Barca. You're not. So I don't know how they're going to do it.
Well, they're not going to replace him, but I look at this team, Rod, and they're built with winners. I mean, attitude, players, you name it. And, a team is loaded with leaders, too. And it's going to hurt. I'm not saying they're not going to miss a beat, but they're going to be right there. It's an 82 or 84 game season, whatever it is now. It's I have a feeling Barkov's going to be back towards the end of the year somehow, some way.
Wonders of modern medicine. 7 to 9 months is the projected return time. But, I'm with you, and I watched them here last night. Sergei Bobrovsky, did you see any of the highlights of the game last night?
I did.
He is right on point. It's been such a pleasure getting to see him every night, getting to know him, had the chance to interview him last night. Just an extremely impressive guy. It starts in goal. As a Detroit fan, you know that, both good and bad. You've seen both sides of it, right? Right now, you don't have it, and you haven't made the playoffs for forever. So that's a really good place to start. They'll be like on the cusp of the playoffs. I think they'll be in, and then from there, who knows?
So, Rod, down in South Florida, it's a football town with Miami and the U. Well, Miami not so much now because they're not the greatest team in the world, but a two-time defending Stanley Cup champions. How long is it going to take for the excitement to be back once the regular season starts? Or is it just going to pick up right where it left off?
It's going to pick up where it left off. I mean, Chicago's in here next Tuesday, opening night. I'll guarantee you that's going to be sold out, because they are still winning.
Yeah.
It'll be a quick drop-off, trust me. Everybody's asking me, what are they saying about the Dolphins? I said, they've checked out on the Dolphins. Even though they won last night, they got the Canes as the number 2 ranked team in the nation. That's the football team here now, the Miami Hurricanes. As long as you're winning, you're good. In South Florida, it's the most fickle fan base I've ever seen. But it was a pretty good preseason crowd last night given the fact the Dolphins were playing on Monday Night Football right across town. It was a pretty good crowd. And I was surprised, Lou, you may be surprised to know this. When I first came here from Canada 5 years ago, the perception is that they don't know anything about hockey here or care. No, that's not right. They all know about the Panthers. They all know about the NHL. Shoot, 3/4 of the town's from the Northeast. It's just getting them into the building. Getting them, that was 5 years ago. Now they're filling the barn. But I just think the second this team starts to lose, and I don't think it'll happen consistently for 3, 4, 5 years, it'll be empty again because nobody stays on top forever. Again, look at your Red Wings.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Oh, I don't. Like we just said at the top, when you've got a great core of leaders, I know some of them are getting up there a little bit, but you've got some youngsters coming in too that it's a great mix. And what are you, plus 350 to win the cup this year? And that tells you what kind of a core you got. And you're right. They're not going to go anywhere anytime soon.
No, I mean, the injuries hurt, but they're they're still a very good team. I stopped at Bob, but Brad Marchand, of course, is back. Zito made a crack the other day that he goes, doesn't it feel like he's been here forever? He's just that kind of guy. Sam Bennett. They said Sam Reinhart could be a captain. They're like, we could stitch the C on Sam Reinhart right now and have no problems.
Yeah.
Anton Lundell, all got playoffs the last 2 years. They're all still here. So no, they should be fine.
And they're used now. They're not going to go out. They may not get the President's Cup trophy, which, you know what, big deal. They know when to turn it up. They know when the chips are on the line, when they put them all in. That first series last year against Tampa, in the third period, I think they were down and it was all tied up. It looked like, yeah, maybe. But I think that's the one thing the fans have to keep in mind is they're not always going to be a President's Cup team, but they're going to be there in the end.
Well, they've won a President's Trophy here, and it didn't matter. They were bounced in the first round. So that was when Andrew Brunette was the coach. And, they know enough. I mean, even last year, from the Four Nations face-off on, when Tkachuk got hurt, they weren't tanking it, but they were definitely sandbagging it. Paul Maurice was resting guys the whole final 2 months of the season, and nobody had a problem with it. That's the other thing. They do know hockey here. And I know you love my junior hockey history. I come up through the Western Hockey League, spent 20 years there, and I used to think Tri-Cities, Spokane, Seattle, what do they know about hockey? No, they've had hockey there now for 40 years. There's people in those states and cities that don't even know what life's like without hockey. That's what it's like here in South Florida. They know the game. They know.
How long now? Zach Blad, does this suspension carry over to this year,
No,
Rod?
he was back in the playoffs last year.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. I thought that's right. I thought they carried over to the regular season. Well, that's good news for them. And Seth Jones getting a full year with the Panthers. That's huge too.
Well, it goes back to, like, I was talking to a buddy of mine today. He goes, how'd the Panthers look last night? And I said, well, they won in overtime. They've had 2 overtime wins in these preseason, and they didn't play anybody. Like Jeff Petrie played. He's 38. Right? That's not nobody. But Ekblad didn't play. Seth Jones didn't play. The studs didn't play. So, again, they'll be fine. And like you say, full seasons. Marchand and Seth Jones coming back to start the season. Should be fun to watch.
So up the road, over to the other side, to the left coast or whatever coast you want to call it, depending on how you're looking at it, you've got Tampa. Now, I love watching and listening to your Cats and Bolts podcast. Again, Tampa, it looked like they had maybe the momentum and the advantage, then they lost. They didn't do a whole lot in the off season, but they're still going to be right there again. It's not like the cupboard is bare in Tampa either.
It's a very interesting, not experiment, but it's just fascinating to watch what they're doing there. And Julien Brisebois, it's not a rebuild. Some have called it a rebuild on the fly because they've never missed the playoffs. They've never been that bad. They haven't missed the playoffs in almost a decade. But it's a retool, right? Getting rid of Steven Stamkos, and let's be honest, they got rid of him. We still don't really know why, and brought in Jake Gensel, and he was tremendous last year in the regular season. Didn't do much in the playoffs, but not many of them did. But I'll never count out Tampa Bay until I have reason to count them out. Listen, you talk about watching the Cats and Bolts podcast. I had it rubbed in my face all season last year by Lightning fans because I picked them to miss the playoffs, and I won't do that again. I will not do that again. They ended up finishing higher than the Panthers.
Yeah, it's crazy. And another team, I just want to talk about the Hurricanes for a minute. Rod Brindamore's team has been there every year. Can't get over the hump. Boy, confidence is a big thing, Rod, when it comes to, trying to get to that next level. What's it going to take for a team like Carolina? I know they're one of the odds-on favorites out of the East, along with Toronto. Same thing.
Number one, it's hard to win.
Yeah.
That's proof from the Carolina Hurricanes. That's why I think anybody that follows the Panthers and the Lightning with 6 straight Stanley Cup finals in this state realize how fortunate we are to have that, because in Carolina, they haven't been able to get there with tremendous teams. All you can do is, you and I, Lou, got a few years on us. You just got to keep banging, kicking at the door. What are you going to do? Give up? The one thing is, when I've done my preview shows, I had Josh Getzoff on, the voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Mm-hmm.
He's got Carolina as the runaway winners of the Metropolitan Division. He thinks they're that good.
Yeah.
So maybe this will be the year. Rod Brindamore's got Coach of the Year credentials. Freddie Anderson wasn't very good last night, but a lot of goalies don't take the preseason that seriously. Sergei Bobrovsky does, but Freddie didn't last night. I'm a little queasy of their goaltending situation. But I can't compare every team to Bob either. Every goalie to Bob. That's not fair. They'll all lose that comparison.
Oh, you're 100% right. He is definitely the top. And, you know, the word that I hear too, watch out for the Devils this year. They're going to be right up there. The one to keep an eye on, possibly.
The Devils, well, they've just been on this steady ascent.
Yeah.
They got a great goaltender in Jacob Markstrom. They got a really good coach, I think, in Sheldon Keefe. Yeah. The one that I'm really interested in is the Rangers. I mean, they just kind of slipped this through. Yeah. Oh, wait. They won the President's Trophy, and then they missed the playoffs. Let's trade our captain. Let's get rid of Kreider. Let's fire the coach. Right? So all of a sudden, Mike Sullivan's going to save the Rangers? He might. But I don't understand how the guys at the top keep getting a pass there in New York.
I don't either, Rod. I look at that. I'm dumbfounded by that. You know, you talk about being mystified by Toronto's lack of being able to get out of the second round, if not the first. And that's another question mark. That's a head scratcher, you know?
The Leafs? Yeah. Well, I had Alan May on my show today, Washington Capitals TV analyst, and he's a huge fan of Craig Berube. I don't know if he played with him somewhere along the line or whatever, but you would get this. I said if Mike Babcock can't win in Toronto, nobody can. And clearly nobody has been able to. I don't think it's about talent there. I think it's between the ears. Yeah, I don't know. Listen, this, like I said, I'll never count out Tampa Bay. I'll never pick the Leafs to win for all the same reasons. Why, just flip it. There's something with Toronto. I don't know if it's in the walls in the dressing room or what it is, but they just can't get it together. Doesn't matter who's coaching, who's in goal, who's the captain. This doesn't matter. Until they do, I'm not going to believe in them.
You and I talked about this a year ago when we made picks, and I picked Toronto to win it, and I'm done. I'm done picking them to win it. I'll pick the Red Wings before I pick them to win it. I just don't get it. You're absolutely right, spot on between years. But one guy that's not going to be there is Mitch Marner, as he's going to Vegas. I think it's a great deal for Vegas. I like him with Eichel. Is he enough to get them over the top? I'm a little worried about Aiden Hill and net.
I had Vegas as a contender even before they got Mitch Marner.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to skin a cat. I mean, Colorado won a Stanley Cup with an average goalie. I'm sorry, he was average. Yeah. Washington, same thing. I wouldn't do that. I would go out and sign the best goalie like the Florida Panthers have done. And even Tampa Bay, Vasilevsky was the best goalie in the game at the top of his game. I don't really believe in Aiden Hill either, but you know what? He didn't care what you and I think. He's got the ring.
Right.
He's got the ring. So one thing I know about Vegas, which once I started covering the NHL on the reg, it was a little disappointing to learn how little NHL media know about junior hockey, like next to nothing. And so when Vegas brought in Kelly McCrimmon and it got in a bidding war to hire him as the general manager, people are like, why is he so great? I'm like, what, you don't know this? He's the Ken Holland of junior hockey. He's the Glenn Sather of junior hockey. And I've known him since I was 16, Kelly McCrimmon. And he told me once, he goes, we're not doing anything different in the NHL than we are doing in junior, just to scale how we run a team. I'm like, oh, great. Because his teams in Brandon were always in it in the end and won it multiple times. That's Kelly with Vegas. So Marner or not, they were always going to be good.
Rod Pedersen's joining us from the Rod Pedersen Show. You can see it on his YouTube channel on Game Plus Sports, everything from noon to 2 Eastern time, Monday through Friday, and, of course, catches Cats and Bolts podcast as well. Want to go back to the Red Wings real quick. You talked about goaltending. They signed John Gibson. I think it's a good signing, Rod. It's obviously not going to get them the cup, but I think it's a little bit of stability. You know, they got Kosa in Grand Rapids. I don't know if he's ever going to get a chance. Detroit's young, but then they've got some veterans. It's another story where we would love to see Detroit try to sneak into the playoffs just to get some confidence. I don't know if they're gonna.
I think all I need to know out of Detroit was the day before training camp opened on media day when Stevie Y was asked if he's going to be fired if they miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
If you have to answer those questions before camp even begins, that's a pretty good indication of how your season's going to go. I'm sorry, Lou. And as far as the goaltending situation goes, I don't like how teams, and a lot of them do this, rotate a guy in there every year. And the Wings are one. It's Talbot 1 year, Alex Lyons the next. A lot of teams do that. And I feel like it's not 5 guys and a goalie. It's 6 guys working together. It doesn't have to be that way, but you give yourself a better – bring somebody up. I'm very interested in the Casa thing because I watched him in junior. I called his games, World Junior credentials. I thought he had it all. He's at 6'6". What's the holdup? I mean, I'm not saying the Wings don't know goaltenders. Clearly they do. I just don't understand why he's not the guy yet.
I don't know either. He's only had a cup of coffee the last couple of years, and that was on injury relief, if you will. And, they've got the kid out of Michigan State that's then his name escapes me. I had season tickets last year. You think I'd remember his name. But I love your point about the goalie rotation. This isn't back in 2002 when you could get the Dominator, you could get Dominik Hasek because you already had 8 Hall of Famers. I hate that when teams do that. That's they're not to that point yet. I would love to see them bring up Casa and just ride the Rapids with them.
Well, Calgary did that for years. Usually after you lose a franchise great, it takes you a long time, if ever, to they hadn't had one guy in Calgary since Mika Kiprusoff, and they thought Jacob Markstrom was going to be that guy. They threw a bunch of money at him, and he wasn't. Roman Turek. I can go through a lot of names of goalies who went through. Dave Riddick. The list goes on. Dan Vladar. But now they got their guy in Dustin Wolf. They think, but at least they drafted him high. He's got the U.S. World Junior credentials, and they're riding him. And I just think at some point you need to pick a guy and go with him. And again, I haven't seen enough of Kosa. I haven't seen him in what he's been doing in the minors. I only saw him in junior where I was a big fan. I know it's a huge leap, but and I'm sure if he was ready, the Wings would love to have him in there. Right.
So let's get back to the Western Conference now. I know you've been high on Dallas, and rightfully so last year. And I don't know, Colorado. I like them getting Brent Burns, but it just seems like they're snake bit when it comes into the playoffs. Dallas, to me, looks like one of the teams to beat again in the Western Conference.
Well, I think my dad worked for Dallas for 26 years.
Yeah.
That's my dad's goalie mask over my shoulder, by the way, that he wore in net. Yeah, it's so cool. Got it when I was home this summer in Canada. When you say I'm big on Dallas, probably only because of that, because of my dad's time. Because last year in the playoffs, what the hell? At what point? Jim Nils won GM of the year the last 3 years. They haven't won anything. They kind of told me that this voting is nothing more than a popularity contest for these teams. I will always have a soft spot for the Canadian teams. I'm sorry. That won't surprise you. And I want Winnipeg. I went back and looked up the top 5 teams in the NHL in the regular season last year because we forget fast.
Yeah.
Winnipeg was number 1. Washington was number 2. Vegas was 3.
Mm-hmm.
The Vegas thing wouldn't surprise anybody. We all remember that Winnipeg won the President's Trophy, but they went out in round 2 and barely got to round 2 against Dallas.
Yep.
And so I'm watching it really closely because I just have a huge soft spot for Winnipeg. Winnipeg is the second largest city for viewership of my TV show. I don't know why they like me, but for whatever reason they do. And what they went through with Mark Scheifele last year, his dad dying the morning of Game 6.
Yeah.
As bad as it was setting up for a Brett Favre situation. He scored in the game, but then was in the penalty box when his winning goal was scored in overtime. I've never felt, I don't think ever, as bad for somebody. But if you can turn something like that into a positive, there's a lot of rallying cries for the Jets coming back. And then the Oilers were my childhood team until they traded Gretzky August 9th, 1988. So I couldn't bear to cheer for them after that. And I don't regret that. I don't regret that decision. But that's very fascinating to watch, too. So you asked about the Western Conference and who the contenders will be. My heart is in Winnipeg and Edmonton for those reasons.
So, couple of more quick questions for you, and I'll let you get on your way. We've got the signing today of Kaprizov, 136 million for 8 years. This is my prediction question for you, Rod. What is your prediction for Connor McDavid to re-sign with the Oilers? I'm going with 160 for 8 years.
What does that work out to per
20
year?
mil.
Okay.
Nice round number.
20 jumped into my mind, but I don't think it'll be 8 years.
Okay.
I mean, to be honest, we're not financial planners, agents, or financial consultants, so I don't really know. But I'm thinking with the way the salary cap's going up, and I got Jacob Chikrin's dad, Jeff, coming on. You'll remember Jeff Chikrin, of course.
Oh, sure.
He's coming on Cats and Bolts tomorrow.
Nice.
And he always spills more than he should, and he says that he goes, yeah, the cap went up 10 mil last year, but it's going up 10 mil next year and another 10 mil after that. If you're McDavid, I don't know why you would lock yourself into 8 years, frankly, and I don't really know why Kaprizov did, Kirill Kaprizov did, other than it's making him the highest paid player in the NHL right now.
Yeah.
But if you're McDavid, why would you sign long term? Plus, he said he wants to wait and see how Edmonton's going to be. It almost sounds like he doesn't know himself if he wants to be there that long.
Wow. Do you think Ovechkin can get to 1,000 goals?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't think he'd get to 894. So here we are. And I mean, if you watched him when he's come through Detroit, like,
oh yeah,
the 3 years ago, we all thought there's no way this guy's going to catch Gretzky,
right?
Because he was lollygagging and coasting. He was overweight, but then we find out he was going through something in his personal life. The death of his dad really affected him. And then he got over that, trained well, and all of a sudden, if he hadn't got hurt last year, Alan May told me today he was statistically on pace for his best season he ever had last year.
Yeah.
So there's no reason to think. If these guys love playing the game, and is there anybody that looks like they love playing it more than Alex Ovechkin?
No.
Even to this day?
No.
I mean, that game when he scored to break the record, he looked like a rec player, just having fun, smiling. You saw him do the dive.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that would stop him is himself. And if you're playing hockey and making that amount of money, why would you walk away?
Exactly. Do you see Sidney Crosby getting traded, or do you see him finishing his career as a Penguin?
I get a little annoyed at the fake news, and in a way I understand it because I was the voice of a pro team for 20 years. I get it. You want to generate hype.
Yeah.
But when he comes out and says himself, this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
Why are we having this conversation? And I told you that
Fair
we had
enough.
the Penguins announcer on, Josh Getzoff, and he goes, I take Sidney at his word. He goes, I've known him for a decade. If he says he wants to be here, he's not leaving. So, and I also think, I mean, I'm sure most fans know the relationship between Sidney Crosby and Mario Lemieux. Sid lived with Mario when he was 18. Mm-hmm. I'm sure those two sat down and talked about every possible scenario. And Mario's like, do you really want to leave? Why would you leave? And he's not doing it to get into his head. It's like, you're making $8.7 million. You've won your 3 Stanley Cups. You're an absolute hero. It's not like you're Jerome McGinley or Ray Bourque or some of these guys, chasing a cup. Why would you leave if you're Sidney Crosby? Other than being tired of missing the playoffs, I understand that. But I would think he wants to be part of the solution there rather than bail.
Well, I think you're right. I hope he stays. As much as a nemesis he was to our Red Wings back almost 2 decades ago already, it's crazy to think it's been that long. I would love to see him finish there. It's one of those, it's like seeing Joe Namath in a Los Angeles Rams jersey. It just wouldn't be right to me.
Yet it happened.
It did. Yes, it did.
Yeah.
So next Tuesday is opening night against the Hawks, like you said. I know you're going to go to work, but it's not a job. Does it get any more fun than that for you, Rod?
No, I mean, I was thinking about it this morning. I'm like, I had a one-on-one conversation with Sergei Bobrovsky last night.
Wow.
And what it was specifically was I said, hey, the young goalies, Bob's 38. I said, the young goalies are saying they're learning from you. What are you teaching them? Are you telling them something? And he goes, he started laughing. He goes, I'm not really saying anything. Maybe they're watching me, but like he turns and he talks to you, Lou, like he's very respectful. Yeah. And he goes, I learned from them too. But think about it, at 38, you got a 21-year-old, 22-year-old goalie in there. That's getting to be like Tom Brady with his young teammates back in the day. Yeah. Like that's a huge age gap. and yet they're learning from him. And so I've already got it. You know, you talk about next Tuesday, Chicago's here. I'm not going to be going into the Panthers room. I'm going to be going into the Blackhawks room after and seeing Connor Bedard. I had the great pleasure of calling his first 2 junior goals in his very first game when he was 15. So, yeah, this does not get old. I don't think it will ever get old.
That's awesome. It's definitely, it's not a job. I'm so happy for you to be able to do what you like to do and being able to cover the hockey like you do every day down there. And your show is phenomenal.
I appreciate you, Lou. Thank you. And by the way, you mentioned our various shows. We're on the air in Nevada every day on the All Sports channel there, Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. I'd like to get you on next week. I'll just tell you now. I don't know if you're able. We'll talk about it off the air, what your availability is, but I'd love to give. I'm sure there's a lot of Michigan and Detroiters down there and living in Vegas that would love to get the skinny on Michigan sports from you. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. Absolutely. Rod, it's been a pleasure. Have fun next Tuesday with opening night, the banner raising, the whole bit. It's getting to be the fun time of year, man. Hockey season starts. Can't wait.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Hi, everybody. Captain Lou here. Hey, is there a ball game you want to go to last minute? How about the Spartans at Spartan Stadium? Go to the Big House to watch the Wolverines. Is there an NFL game you want to go to? Lambeau Field, Ford Field, wherever, Baltimore. How about the Tigers for the pennant drive? Well, go to SeatGeek. Get those tickets there. Use the promo code Captain Lou right on the screen, and you'll get $20 off of your purchase. It's that simple. So go to the Spartan game. Go to the Big House.